Our show was on 15 stations across the country in major markets. And we were limited to having to do our show on a Saturday or Sunday due to all the big shows gobbled up all the weekday shows. And it was, you don't have as big an audience on the weekends as you do during the week. And during, I guess, my last 2 years, I had friends of mine, I had professional people that kept asking me, how come you don't do podcasts? Because radio was actually dying out. AM terrestrial radio was dying out. But I just held out to the very end until one day I saw, uh, I forgot his first name, Savage, who had the second largest talk show next to Rush Limbaugh. Mike Savage, I believe his name is. And he was on 680 radio stations. And all of a sudden, one day, he was no longer on radio. He moved his entire show to podcast. And I was shocked how you could take something so successful, throw it out the window, and go into something that I thought was not proven yet. Well, there was a reason why he did that. Much smarter than I was. And I was finally convinced that podcast was the way to go. And it's funny because a lot of the electric cars, most of the electric cars now, don't even put AM radio into their cars. They don't match well together. So I finally, 2 years ago, and I did a lot of research, and I found what I consider the top radio podcast production company in the United States. We had so many experts that I was not going to move them from radio to some small company. And I'm doing all this because we get so many requests from businesses wanting to be an expert on our show. So I thought I would take the first 25 minutes today to explain Ask the Experts to you. We've got a great show coming on the second half. We have our personal injury show, which I cannot wait to do because I got a ticket a couple of weeks ago, and boy, did I learn some things about auto accidents and people who are driving around, but that'll be in the second half of the show. But I want to explain becoming an expert on our show. It is so easy, but I want to explain that when you're an expert on this show, the people who are listening have a reason to listen. I mean, we have a personal injury show coming on, Zervos and Calta law firm. The people who are going to watch it are people that have either been in an auto accident, who know that maybe with all those crazy drivers out there, they could be in an auto accident, which means there could be injuries, which means you need to know what to do. And all of our shows are like this. We bring on top experts in their field, and we educate you. It's not some info commercial. We literally educate you, and in hopes that our experts, people will contact them instead of going through all the websites to see who's got the nicest website. The areas that we cover, the main areas, are legal, anything involving legal. Health, same thing with health. Anything involving health, whether it is Medicare insurance or it's an orthopedic problem, a weight loss problem, which is one of our biggest shows. It could be a financial problem. It could be two of our biggest topics are tax relief, and the other one is wealth management. And the other area is home improvement. We have a lot of homeowners who watch this show, listen to this show. So anything involved with air conditioning repair, plumbing repair. But our biggest topic is public insurance adjusters. And what's so great about them is you can learn that there's companies, public insurance companies out there that can get you a lot more from your insurance policy if you've got damage to your home, like fire, water damage, mold. These people can get you a lot more from the insurance company than you can get yourself. So we have a lot of different areas. We're running our phone number. If you're watching on the screen today, the name of the company is Ask the Experts. This is our 12th year of doing this, and you can reach us at 954-336-3767, or you can just email me at Steven, and it's spelled Steven, at Ask the Experts, experts is plural, radioshow.com. You can contact us and we'll tell you how you can get on our show as an expert. Our shows are come in increments of 25 minutes, and we've got the greatest, I guess, they're not board ops, they're much larger than a board op would be. I just call them our producers. So you've got a lot of professional people behind the scenes. And I'm telling you, if you want to promote your business, educate people on what you do, having a podcast is the greatest way and most economical way to promote your business. We do something a little bit different. We have broken down by city, by state, on a national basis. Now, we'll have people who will say to us, but doesn't everybody on a national basis get to see our show? Yes, they do. But what we do is we promote your show. We promote it on Facebook. We promote it on, just lost my train of thought. We promote it on, God, I can't believe it. I just went blank. But anyway, we promote the show extremely heavy by city or by state. So, for example, the show that's coming up is a Florida show. So the whole week before the show, we are promoting the show. And I say Facebook because Facebook, I see every day different shows that are coming up, not only our shows, but other shows that are coming up. And that's the difference in what we do. We promote it. We target cities. We target states. We target nationally. So the show that's coming up, the personal injury show, we will promote that throughout Florida and in different areas. The next thing is just talking about some of the hot topics. Personal injury law is an extremely hot topic. We talk about auto accident injuries. We talk about slip and falls. We talk about what you should do that if you're in an accident, how important it is to get an attorney. The next thing, tax relief, huge area for us. Again, we promote this on a statewide level. We promote it on a national level. A category that's become so big for us, especially with all the homeowners that listen to and watch the show, is public insurance adjusters. A lot of people don't even know what a public insurance adjuster does. But I'm telling you what, if you have water damage to your house and the insurance company offers you a settlement, I'm telling you, if you get a public adjuster, more than likely they are going to be able to get you thousands of dollars more. But a lot of people don't know that. When it also comes to our home improvement area, air conditioning, huge topic for us, air conditioning repair. And it used to be just in the summertime. That now is a category that's good all year round. We do a show in Florida for investments, money management, extremely big topic for us. If you look at the income levels for the demographics of the people who watch our show or listen to our show, a lot higher income, college educated. We've got the demographics, and there's a lot of big investment companies that were smart enough to jump on to get their own show. And it's just such a big topic. It's a great way to go if you're into wealth management. One of our biggest topics, it's always been a big topic for us, but in the last year, weight loss has become so big, and it's mainly because they have these, we call them now skinny injections. And it's a product that's a little expensive. Well, it's a lot expensive, but it really works, helps you to lose weight. We have a show that we do on stop snoring, another big area. We also do work with dentists. Dental implants are huge. It's probably the biggest topic in dentistry that we have. So you can see there's a lot of different topics. I'm sure you might have a business that you want to educate the public with. I think the greatest part, and I get really excited when I talk about this part, is it is so affordable to come on our show. It is probably the cheapest, most effective way to promote your business than anything I've ever seen. And I've been in the advertising business for 25 years, and I've never seen anything that was so successful but did not cost you an arm and a leg. I know about radio. I know about TV. We don't really mess with newspaper anymore. Hardly anybody advertises with newspaper anymore. But I am telling you, this is the best way, most economical way to promote your own show. And I'm going to tell you something. I know out there that people are getting into podcasts. It's very easy to get into podcasts. But the big part is promoting it. That's where it gets expensive, is promoting, letting people know that you have a show, because just to have a show on there and never promote it is not going to do you any good. That's why I was so happy to go with W4CY, is because they are so big, they are so successful, and that's who we wanted to be joined with. So I wanted to take this time and not have a show with our expert on, which we will in about 10 minutes. But I wanted to actually come on, and I just got a text from somebody. What about community association law? We have a community association law firm. Those are law firms that represent HOA condo associations. Believe it or not, they have lawyers. That's all they do. We have a law firm that started off with us in South Florida 10 years ago. And not only are they still with us, but they've added Tampa and Orlando, and they have been with us about 10 years. But that's how successful it's been for them. And they do an hour show. They don't just do the 25-minute. They do a 50-minute show once a month, and the phones ring off the wall. It is such a popular show for us that it's just so nice. I love it when our experts are successful with their show. So again, we have a show that's got a big name, Ask the Experts. It's been around forever. And the reason why we've been around forever is our experts do so well with our show, whether it's health purposes, anything having to do with health, anything having to do with legal. I mentioned personal injury, but we do extremely well with bankruptcy lawyers, with family lawyers. We have a family lawyer who's been with us for 8 years out of Boca Raton. And the show has been so successful for her. And I'm trying to think other areas. Real estate law is very big. Tax relief is huge for us. But, shows like our personal injury show, everybody in some way gets affected because either they've been in an auto accident or a slip and fall, an injury problem. I mean, it could be, when I say auto, it could be truck, it could be motorcycle, it could be pedestrian. And a lot of people, if you've never been involved, say in a slip and fall accident or a auto accident, you literally don't know what to do, and you don't know your rights. So it's great having a show, a personal injury show on with us that doesn't, what people love about our shows is they don't sound like a commercial. And that is the way it's meant to be. We're here to educate you, but we're also here to bring on some of the biggest, for example, we're talking law and personal injury, biggest personal injury firms in the state of Florida. And we actually get letters from people just thanking us for bringing shows like this. And that's going to be our next show, but we do a lot of different legal shows that we are so proud of. We have a workers' comp show that we do in Philadelphia. It's now all of Pennsylvania now. They've been with us for 6 years, and all they do is work-related injuries. They don't do anything with personal injury at all. It's just strictly work-related injuries. And it is, again, another one of our most successful shows. We are going to go to a break in just a minute, and we'll be bringing on our next expert. If you would like to find out more information about doing a show on Ask the Experts, I will say this: we do not have a lot of openings. It's not easy to get on the show, but you never know. You might be in Orlando, which we have one opening, and it would be really good if you just give us a call at 954-336-3767, or you can email me at Steven, and that's Steven at Ask the Experts Radio Show. Experts is plural.com. And we'd love to tell you the information about the show. I've given you a lot of information today, and I'm already seeing the phones are ringing. That's wonderful. We're going to go to a break, and we come back. We have our personal injury show. They have been with us for several years, and I know we're going to be talking about some of the big firms versus maybe a little bit smaller firms, because a lot of people out there think, oh, I've got to go with a big firm. You're going to find out on today's show that is not important. And the ladies are going to be on with us today. There's an area that I'm going to get into because I was involved this past week, and I have learned something about who is out there driving and who doesn't have a driver's license or insurance. So I cannot wait to bring them on. We'll be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. I have got their partners, two of the greatest attorneys, personal injury attorneys. We are so lucky to have them. Are they there with us, Rebel? Here we go. There's one. And we're just, there we go. Beautiful.
Good morning.
Good morning, ladies.
How are you?
Well, I have something I'm going to share with you that I've learned. But the name of the law firm is Zervos and Culta. We have both Lauren Culta and Angela Zervos with us, two of the greatest personal injury attorneys. I have so much to talk to you about. We're going to be talking about bigger is not necessarily better. But before we get started, I got a ticket a couple weeks ago, rolling stop of all things. But I tell you what, I went to court in Palm Beach County. First of all, the lines, I had an 8:30 court date. You would not believe how long the lines were just to get into the building. But once I finally got into the judge's courtroom, there are hundreds, I'm sure there's thousands of people driving in Florida who don't even have a driver's license, or it's been suspended, but even worse, don't have insurance. I must have had 80 or 90 people in front of me who did not have auto insurance. and it looked like they didn't even have a way to pay for it. So there are people driving around, at least in Florida, I don't know other parts of the country, that do not have a driver's license or they do not have insurance. I know you're aware of this, but boy, did I learn.
It happens more than you think, Steve. Just 2 weeks ago, my daughter-in-law called me. She was stopped at a light, and the 19-year-old thought it would be smart to try and wedge his way between two lanes and took the side of her car with him. And he not only didn't have a valid registration, but the insurance card he gave her, he had to call his mom for a copy of it because it wasn't in the car, was for a policy that expired 3 months ago. And then they provided another insurance card, and that took effect the day after the accident. So in her case, she was very fortunate in that she had comprehensive collision coverage, which takes care of your car no matter who's at fault. And thankfully, she wasn't injured. But if she was injured, she had uninsured motorist coverage, which I know Angela and I have spoke about till our faces turned blue. How important it is to have uninsured motorist coverage, because there are just so many people out there that either don't have insurance or don't have bodily injury liability insurance, which would cover you if you were injured in an accident.
Well, what's scary is when I saw that line and I saw the amount of people who go before the judge for mostly for suspended license, no license, or no insurance, I was blown away. It was, and that I just saw one county one day. So when you all talk about like uninsured motorists, I don't think people really realize how many people out there are driving around, no license, no insurance, and you've got to be prepared.
Very expensive too, Steve, the insurance in Florida. And, people are always, we hear it all the time. Well, I'm a good driver, or I can't afford any more insurance than this. But, one of the most dangerous things is to be driving on the roads in Florida, especially with all the people moving here in the last couple of years. So, we always tell people nobody likes to spend money on car insurance, and they understand that, obviously, but the problem is, when they get into that accident and they're hurt. Sometimes they're in the hospital for days and days, and they have emergency surgery, and then they come to us and we have to tell them, sorry, the person who hit you doesn't have any insurance. And they get all up in arms and they're like, well, that's not fair. And how do they get away with that? And then we look at our clients' policies, and they have the same kind of policy. And we tell them, you have the same policy that they do. And, it'd be great if everybody just, at least understood it and had some form of uninsured motorist, even if it's just $10,000. It helps with the bills. It helps with lost income. It's better than getting nothing.
Another thing that I learned last week, which I'm sure you all know, I've been doing this for 12 years. And I got to tell you that let's just say go 5 years back with personal injury. There was product liability, there was medical malpractice, work-related injuries, motorcycle, truck, brain injury, catastrophic. There were so many categories within personal injury. We were working the Atlanta area, and attorneys are telling me we just do auto accidents now because there are so many auto accidents, and we really our caseload is so heavy with just auto accidents, which means there's a lot of wrecks out there, a lot of people getting hurt.
You'd be surprised, Steve, for as many auto accidents there are There's still slip and falls or premise liability cases. A lot of those accidents, unfortunately, turn into fatalities, uh, accidents involving fatalities, which then turns into a wrongful death. Um, Unfortunately, people are careless. And when people are careless and other people get hurt, that's when attorneys like Angela and myself step in to try and get you compensated for that.
Well, before we get into it, let's tell people about your law firm because you have one of the greatest personal injury firms in the state of Florida.
Well, Steve, yeah, sure. We are Zervos and Calta. Lauren and I are the both partners and the only attorneys in the firm. Lauren has been licensed to practice law since 1994. I have been licensed to practice law since 1997. So we are approaching, my God, almost 60 years, almost.
92 in New York.
Oh, all right, 94, and so we both had. I started out as criminal defense attorney, and Lauren started out as a prosecutor. So we had a lot of courtroom trial experience, and then we shifted from the criminal arena to the civil side, and we started doing personal injury a long, long time ago, and that's all we've been doing. And we do handle any type of a car accident, bike accident, which would include any motorcycle, truck accidents, pedestrians. We do handle medical malpractice cases. We also handle slip and falls or trip and falls, or what's known as like a premises liability case. So we've got the ability and the means to handle these big types of cases.
Do you get very many nursing home abuse cases anymore?
That's something we don't really handle anymore. I will tell you that there are some attorneys that have focused primarily on nursing home abuse and negligence cases, because what happens is the nursing homes create these corporate shells, these LLCs, and they are able to hide their income. So you have an LLC that owns another LLC that owns another LLC. And it's because of those reasons that Lauren and I don't handle those cases, but we do have attorneys that do, and they're familiar with most of the bad nursing homes in the area, and they know how to penetrate those LLCs, if you will.
Well, we wanted to name today's show is Bigger Better when it comes to your choice of law firms. And that just isn't the case, is it?
No, in our opinion, no. You get drawn in by the fact that they've settled how many cases throughout 10 years, or that they have so many attorneys throughout the country. And it's not better. Well, I can't tell you the number of people that have come to Angela and I who have had bigger firms represent them. And they call us saying, it's been weeks, in some instances, months, sometimes all the way through settlement. I have never seen or spoken to my attorney. I don't even know who my attorney is. You come to Zervos and Calta, you're getting Lauren and Angela. You go to a bigger firm, you don't know what attorney is being assigned to your case. You just are going with the name of the firm. But you could be getting someone straight out of law school or 2 years out of law school. And the attorney on the other side is probably a seasoned trial litigator. And what type of odds do you have in that instance, Steve, where you have a second year out attorney going against a defense attorney who's had maybe 30 years of trial litigation experience? There's also the lack of personal attention. There's no way that with the caseload those attorneys are handling in those bigger firms, that they know your name. They know what your case is about. They remember when you called and told them that you weren't working. Can you double check on where my lost wage check is? Or can I get a lost wage check? Or is there an exclusion on my policy under my PIP coverage for that? There's no way to keep up. There's no way that they can properly devote the time needed to really educate you and school you and hold your hand throughout the process. There's just too many cases for one attorney to be able to do that. At our firm, we know everybody's name, kind of like the Cheers bar, right? We know everybody's name. We know what your case is about. We know the last time you called. We will call you to schedule for a phone conference because we haven't heard from you. You always meet with an attorney. It's just different. And in our opinion, the hands-on attention and focus that you get in a smaller firm, providing that you have experienced attorneys, outweighs the size of a bigger firm.
You know what I like about your firm is, and again, I've been doing this for a long time. In the olden days, it was whoever had the biggest Yellow Page ad. And then it even went to who had the two biggest Yellow Page ads. It wasn't necessarily they were the best. It was they had the biggest ad, which was so pitiful to pick an attorney like that. But nowadays, they show this picture of all, they have 100 employees, but the first person you talk to, they have a title. It's called intake. It's not the attorney, it's intake. You don't have that with Zervos and Calta. You are the ones, the intake.
We love it, Steve, when we have a client that found us by researching online, looking at reviews, reading the website to see if we've actually had courtroom trial experience. We know that that's a client that did their homework. And we think that people, when they hire an attorney for whatever they need it for, whether it's a family law attorney, a real estate, or a criminal attorney, you don't just pick who you think looks good or who has the biggest ad. You've got to do the research and find out what qualifications they've had and read the reviews from other clients. It's really important. It's an important decision to make, and it shouldn't be rushed into.
I saw a couple of weeks ago, because I actually read those reviews, and it was somebody who had contacted the law firm. They said they saw their TV ad, and that's how they chose the firm. And they said that after they signed with them, sometimes it would take weeks for them to get back with them. I mean, do you know how frustrating that is when you've got a case and you can't even get your lawyer or anybody from the firm to return your phone call? I know how important customer service is to Zervos and Calta.
Look, we know that people come to an attorney when they're down and out, when they need help, when they're scared, when they're not sure of what tomorrow is going to bring, right? You're in an accident, you're hurt, you come home from the ER, you're all banged up, you may have broken bones, you may not be able to move your back, you may not be able to turn your head, you can't go to work, you're out of sick days at work. What do I do? Who's going to pay my medical bills? They told me to follow up with an orthopedic. Those are scary times. So it's just, to Angela and I, it's offensive when an attorney thinks, well, your case isn't that important. I'll get to you when I get to you. To each client, their case is paramount. That's their life. Nobody knows how bad an injury hurts unless it's the person who's injured, right? So to them, not getting back in days may feel like weeks or months, or they no longer feel like a priority with your firm. And Angela and I go out of our way to make sure each and every client feels like a priority in the firm, because they are. No matter how big or how small your case is, it doesn't matter. You're not a number. You're not categorized by how much insurance coverage there is on your case or how bad your injuries are. You're categorized as a human being, and client A is just as important as client B, and they will get the same attention and respect and courtesy no matter what.
You know, I've seen several commercials lately for personal injury attorneys, and I think this is really important. See, a lot of people don't even know how you're compensated. They don't know about all the work you do before you realize a dime of it. And there's attorneys out there trying to make you think that they charge less when they're charging the same thing that everybody else does, which means you're starting off with a relationship with basically a lie. And that's what it is.
Yeah, Steve, that's true. There's a lot of commercials, and I don't necessarily think that the commercials or the advertisements are designed to dupe people when they say, no fees, no costs unless we win. I think that they're just basically letting people know, if you've been in an accident, that's the payment structure. That's how it's handled. All personal injury attorneys in the state of Florida are required by law to get paid on a contingency basis, meaning if they're successful. And that's why it's so important to get an attorney that has experience, because there are attorneys out there without the experience that get the cases dismissed, that don't meet the statute of limitations, that mess up the case somehow because they don't know how to handle it. And in some instances, when that happens, the client is exposed to attorney's fees, to pay attorney's fees to the defense attorney for the insurance company. And so another reason why it's so important on choosing an attorney. But back to your comment, we all get paid on a contingency basis, and the fee structure does vary depending on whether or not the case settles without the need for a lawsuit, or if it settles or resolves after litigation, either through settlement or by way of a jury. So basically, it doesn't cost the client any money until the case is settled.
I was curious, have there been any law changes this year?
Have there been any law changes? Yes, significant law changes. Changes where the statute of limitations has been changed from 4 years to 2 years. Changes where it used to be, if you were involved in an accident and say it was another car came into your lane and they're saying you came into their lane. So there's an issue of whether or not one party is 100% at fault or you're both kind of at fault. It used to be that your verdict would just be reduced by your percentage of fault. So if you were in an accident with me, Steve, and the jury deemed you 75% responsible and me 25% responsible, any verdict would just be reduced by my 25% fault. The new law now says that if I am found more than 50% responsible for the accident, meaning 51%, I get a big fat zero. No matter how hurt I am, no matter how much pain and suffering there was, you get to walk free without any responsibility because you were only 49% responsible for causing the accident.
We just got a text in. I'm really enjoying your show. I wish I'd have known you 2 years ago when I went with one of those big firms, and they make you feel like you're just a number, and that when you do call, and I did not call very often, when you do call, they make you feel bad. I think your title of your show is perfect. It really is.
We sadly, that's something that we hear all the time. Understand the bigger law firms, whether it's a law firm with 50 employees or hundreds of employees. The case files are just that. They're case files. We have clients, not case files. Our
That's
client, our files, our clients have names, not file numbers. And unfortunately, that's one of the gimmicks, that's one of the pitfalls, I guess is a better way to say it, of people who go to bigger firms. They're a file number. And it's unfortunate. And I can probably tell you what a lot of people would say that have now, in retrospect, disappointment that they went with a bigger law firm, because when those people call and they get routed to a case manager, and you talk to the case manager and the client's like, yeah, I'd like to speak to my attorney. I've got something's coming up. I've got some important things happening in my life. I need to get their advice. And the case manager says, well, I'll handle it. Give me the message. And if that doesn't work, then the case manager will email the attorney. And if the attorney gets around to responding to the email, then the case manager calls the client back. And client never gets to speak with the attorney. And we hear it over and over and over. But when you call our office, if you're a client, our legal assistants answer the phone, and then they'll buzz us, Lauren or I, and they'll say, Sarah Jane Doe is on the phone for you. Do you have a few minutes to talk to her? And if we do, we'll take the call. So, the bigger the better argument doesn't work in this type of law. Just doesn't work.
And if we don't have the time right then and there, Steve, we make sure we call them back. Not
Yes.
the assistant, the attorney calls them back.
Well, I've always said how important customer service is to you. Gosh, I'm looking at the time. We've only got a few minutes left. Let's tell people how they can reach you if they're listening on radio or podcast now.
Phone number 727-937-3171. Website www.zervosinjurylaw.com. Our main office is in Tarpon Springs if you want to stop by, 1266 South Pinellas Avenue. We have satellite offices in Spring Hill, in St. Petersburg, and in Clearwater as well. But we handle cases throughout the state of Florida.
Yes.
And also, we will be running the show again in 2 weeks. It's always the second half of our show on Monday. And I always say we're so blessed to have both of you. Thank you so much. I hope you all had a wonderful 4th of July, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Steve. Enjoy your week.
You too. That's the ladies of Zervos and Calta. Wonderful personal injury attorneys. They've always got such great advice. So that's it for us today, but we will be back with you next Monday. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.